Welcome to the Prepped and Polished podcast, the podcast that empowers you to take control of your education. Featuring weekly interviews with influencers in the world of education, as well as tutoring tips, lessons, and updates. And now, here's your host, Alexis Avila.
Hi everyone, this is Alexis Avila of Prepped and Polished, a tutoring and test prep firm that provides in-person and online tutoring for the SAT, ACT, grad school tests, private school tests, and academic subjects such as math, science, English, and study skills coaching. For more information, please check out preppedandpolished.com. And I welcome you to the new and improved Prepped and Polished podcast, where we will continue to interview amazing and inspiring guests in the world of education. But I'm going to introduce a few new series of episodes, including tutoring and test prep tips, lessons and updates, as well as our Celebs Giving Back Series, focusing on interviews with celebrities who give back to the world in a positive way. Our Celebs Giving Back Series starts right now with episode 36 with DJ Irie. And remember, if you have any questions or comments about the episode, feel free to email me at any time, radio@preppedandpolished.com. I love hearing from you. And joining our show today is DJ Irie. Irie is a world-renowned DJ, a brand, an entertainer, and philanthropist of the Irie Foundation. Irie's DJ credits include official DJ of the NBA's Miami Heat, NBA All-Star Weekend DJ, VH1 Pepsi Super Bowl Fan Jam, and Fortune Magazine's 40 Under 40. A couple years back, he DJ'd Robert Downey Jr.'s private birthday bash held at Downey's Malibu mansion with crowds of Hollywood elites, including Jodie Foster, Tobey Maguire, Samuel L. Jackson, and Sting. And Sting, who at one point spontaneously brings down the house while DJ Irie spins the classic Police song, Roxanne. Irie's proudest accomplishment to date has become his enthusiastic philanthropic efforts, highlighted by Irie Weekend, an event-filled collection of events which benefits the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Miami. In 2012, DJ Irie established the Irie Foundation in an effort to provide South Florida's troubled youth with opportunities they may not otherwise have available to them. All right, DJ Irie, thanks for coming on the Prepped and Polished podcast. How are you doing today?
Sure, doing great, man.
Awesome. So you recently DJ'd at Robert Downey Jr.'s birthday party, and is that right?
Yeah, well, it was a couple years ago.
Oh, a couple years ago. And I hear that at one point when you were spinning the Roxanne record, Sting, who was in attendance, grabs the mic and starts singing Roxanne. So you had a front row seat. Did Sting have it that night?
Oh, man. I mean, Sting has it any night.
Any night. Any night. Exactly.
Any night, man. Any night. I mean, when you're in the presence of, such legendary greatness, it's just, they just command all attention, man. It was absolutely amazing.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your music background and how did your musical influence inspire you to shape an amazing career as a renowned DJ today?
Well, you know what? I mean, with my background, it really just kind of all came together, from my parents, and their influence. My parents were, I guess you can say, audiophiles. They would have all the latest, Bob Marley records and Peter Tosh, Smokey Robinson, all that, classic, R&B and funk. And they would literally just, be playing throughout the house, every day, especially weekends, And for me, it just really grew on me. I kind of caught the bug. And, from there, I kind of wanted to have the same thing. So I literally just had this fascination with vinyl. And if a record came out that, I heard and I liked it, I had to have it. But I had to have it on vinyl. I didn't want it in any other format. I had to have the record. And that kind of followed me right through, through high school when I had amassed this crazy collection. And the cool thing about being in Miami is, the community is so diverse. So, in my circle of friends, I had friends that were, of Latin descent, European descent, from all over, Caribbean. So, being in Miami, I was always being exposed to, music from, different cultures and walks of life, and that actually helped, my interest in music and my sound in general, So nowadays, when I perform, I inject some Latin and some Caribbean and, all these different kinds of flavors that had an early influence on me.
Makes a lot of sense that it brought you to this point today.
Yeah, for sure.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your idols growing up, DJ Irie, and are they the same, or have your idols changed as an adult?
You know what? Some are the same. Some have changed. Earlier when all I was thinking about was just the music and what it would be like to DJ and perform, I was only thinking about other DJs. I remember at the time, the guys that were really making waves, and I was pretty in touch with guys like Kid Capri, Funkmaster Flex. I remember seeing DJ Scribble on MTV for the first time, and I was like, wow, that's so cool, And so there was, really at that time I was thinking about, just folks within that music lane,
Oh yeah.
But but as I grew a bit older, and I kind of, of course that interest, in music, has always been there. But when I started to really, shift a little bit and kind of, take it more as a business than just something that I'm, passionate about and have fun doing, that's where, some of my folks that I looked up to, kind of shifted. I started looking up to, folks that kind of paved their own way in the business world, especially folks that, took, a particular talent that they may have and just, leverage it to create further business, for themselves or expand their brand, into other areas that's not directly affiliated with their talent or passion, So I mean, guys like Magic Johnson, what he's doing with his, business portfolio now is absolutely amazing,
Oh yeah, I mean,
there's so many folks that have used their either athletic ability or their artistic ability, whether it be music, fashion, whatever it is, and then just parlay that into a bigger business opportunity, and that's always something that I look up to.
That's amazing. So can you talk just a little bit about your experiences getting accepted into college? I know that you were granted a full scholarship, and if you could just tell the listeners out there, and keep in mind, most of the listeners are teenagers, and
okay, cool.
But what happened to your scholarship, and that kind of stuff? It's a really cool story.
Yeah, it is, and so. Being from a family of Caribbean descent, my parents were from Jamaica. Anybody out there that's from a Caribbean family will definitely, understand what I'm saying is, and you're going to have two choices. You can be a doctor or a lawyer, right? And they are not playing about that either. So, my parents were I would say, pretty hard line when it came to education, and when it came to making, decisions, sound decisions on, higher education and what I was going to do going forward. So when it was time, to go to college, I'd worked very, very hard, through high school, and I was awarded the Golden Drum Scholarship. It was a completely full ride, for all 4 years.
Wow. So what is it called, Irie? The Golden what?
Golden Drum Scholarship.
Drums? Okay.
Yeah. At the time, I'm sure it's still around, but at that time it was the Golden Drum Scholarship.
Okay.
And it was for me to pursue higher education in the medical track. So,
oh, cool.
This is the same time that my DJ opportunities started to kind of open up a bit, and doing some nightclub stuff, So that very first year in college, I was doing a lot of parties in this area called Coconut Grove. That was like where all the college kids kind of hung out, So I was doing parties there like multiple, times a week. And then I had my classes at like 7:25 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so at that point, my focus was a little bit more on the DJing, and the parties, because I'm like making money and I'm doing something that I love to do. And yeah, I go to class too, but this is like my thing, and my grades suffered. And my very, very first year, I lost my scholarship. My grades were so low that it was below the threshold to keep a scholarship. Totally freaked me out because my parents would kill me if they found out. And this ended up being like one of my greatest life lessons. So that fear, of my parents finding out, really led me to take a couple of steps. The first step was to intercept the letter that was coming from the university because there's no way they could ever find out about this. So I literally waited by the mailbox every single day until that letter came in. And that letter didn't even make it past the sidewalk. I just ripped it up and put it down the drain.
So you went up to the post mail guy. You were like, hey man.
Yeah, man. I was there to collect it every single day, man. And so once I intercepted that, I just kind of said, what the heck am I going to do now? And you know what? Like I said earlier, I'm DJing. I'm actually making money. And at that time, I was like, I bought a car. I put rims in the car and buying new sneakers and taking my friends out. I was that dude,
Oh, yeah.
So all that stopped. I was like, you know what? I got to keep going to school, and I'm going to have to pay for it. So all this work that I'm doing, DJing, I'm going to save it, put it back so I can pay my tuition and buy my books and all that when the time comes. And that's exactly what I did. But that really changed my whole perspective, because that first year when I had to cut that check, it was just one of the hardest things I've ever done, because my account was like done after that. I cut that check and I went to class after working. And you know what? I had a cup of coffee. I took whatever I had to do, but I was right there in the front of the classroom, and I asked every question that I needed to ask if I didn't understand something, and I made sure I got everything out of that particular class I needed to get, because there was no way I was going to be working so hard, those late nights, and having that money go to waste, And it's really taught me the value of hard work, appreciating what you earn, and it's totally changed my perspective, and my grades went right back up. I still didn't tell my parents. My grades went right back up, and I ended up, going through and finishing. And as a matter of fact, my parents didn't find out just till like maybe a couple of years ago, and they just couldn't believe it. They were blown away, man. They were like, "Wow, we can't believe you did that." But yeah, we would have killed you, so you did good.
There you go. Oh man, that's a really great lesson for these kids to hear. I really like that one.
Sure. For sure.
So Irie, is there anyone or anyone's career that you tried to model yourself after? I know you alluded to some of your idols, but
yeah, you know what? I mean, for me personally, I in terms of, if I were to say I model my career after anybody, I don't think I do. I think it's more of taking certain ideals, right, and a certain mindset that with what I built, in terms of the network, the brand, the access, and all these different things that have come together to this point. It's how do you take those things and create more value, right? How do you take those things and build a bigger business and a bigger situation from that, right? Mm-hmm. So guys that have done a great job of that, guys like Diddy, right? Who's his thing was music and his label, putting out artists, and now if you look at his business portfolio, I mean, from television, through Volt, to spirits, right? Water, all kinds of different things. But he's used his level of popularity. He's used a level of access and all these different things to leverage the other businesses, right? And that really, anybody that's in I mean, more so, entertainment, or public figure of any kind, that really is a true lesson, because if you spend all your time and your energy, building your brand and building yourself, to be great, in your particular lane, right? Whether it be music, whether it be, as an athlete, whatever it is. And throughout your span, throughout your career, the only value you've been able to, get a return on is what you've physically done in that lane. I personally think it's a waste, right?
Right.
Because that value has so much other value in other areas, but it takes work, and you have to, put your mind to it and really, figure it out, because it's not the same for everybody, For me, I took that focus, and I knew that I understand my audience, right? I understand my positioning, and I understand the brands that are interested in that particular audience, right? And I went and set myself up accordingly to make sure that, what we were doing was not only presentable, but displayed in a light that they would get it right away, that, hey, you know what? This is someone we need to be in business with. This is someone that we need to be partners with. And I honestly think that, anybody with, with a certain, reach or status within their particular talent or right can do that.
I'm going to go on a little whim here, Irie, but I'm sensing a little Richard Branson in you, and I'm really glad that I got this interview now. Because I think that's
funny. That's funny, man. What's funny is that I'm gonna be with him next month. I'm doing an event at on Necker Island. His private island he has in the Reservation Island.
Sure.
He does a tennis tournament there every year, and I was invited to come and perform
there you go.
This year. So I'll be taking full advantage, of that time to get to, have some good conversation and hopefully, learn some new angles.
Awesome.
So funny you too.
Awesome.
But I appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
sure.
very much.
Sure thing. So let's transition a little bit to philanthropy. I'm curious to know how you got into it, and on your one of your videos I was watching, you talk about pay it forward, and maybe you can elucidate a little bit about what you meant by that.
Yeah, I mean, just to approach this in the most, I guess, basic form. I'll take myself as an example. I wasn't, raised in a impoverished family or in the inner cities. I was actually very, shielded and protected from that, to be honest with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
My perception of the world was just kind of like, everything's great, everything's great, everybody's great, It wasn't until, I got a bit older when I was able to venture out on my own, that I was able to, be in the inner city and, myself and see what was going on,
Right.
But I did, just like anybody else, I'd read the newspaper, watch the news, and I would see, and this is one particular situation that actually really was impactful in my life and changed my trajectory in terms of philanthropy, right? Mm-hmm. So there was this one particular school in Miami called Edison, and I would probably see this school in the headlines, a couple times a year, whether it be, a violent fight or weapons or a riot, the school's failing, it's going to be closed, all these different things. And next thing you know, I was invited to be a teacher for a day at the school. And after, some serious consideration, I was super apprehensive. I don't know why I agreed to it, but I was like, you know what? Cool, I'll do it. Let's just go, right?
Yeah.
And I have all this in my mind is what I've been exposed to in the media, and reading the stories, whatever. So, I'm like prepared to walk into like a war zone or something, But I walk in there, and first of all, the place is just pristine, right? I mean, everything was just so in place and so clean. I'm like, wow, this is gorgeous. And it's in the inner city, right? And I go to report to my class, and I meet the students, briefly, and I go through my lesson for the day. A lot of the students there, recognize me from P games, different things I've been involved with. So there was a certain level of, like, oh, it's DJI, and he's like, well, he came here. Right? so we had a little Q&A session towards the end of the day, and in the Q&A, the first question that really captivated me, this one youngster said, DJ, he called me DJ, but DJ, be honest with us, what was your opinion coming in here today? What do you think it would be like? I was like, oh my gosh, they didn't just ask me that. Right? Well, you know what though? Because one thing about this is they can, they know it's real. They know it's real and they know it's not. Like they can spot it,
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna level with them and say, listen, you know what? I didn't think it was gonna be like this. Like I've heard about all the things that happen here in the media, and I've read about different things, violence and things of that nature in the papers, and guys don't really have the best reputation. But let me also tell you this: being here today, and being on your campus and being in the students and spending this time, not only has it totally changed my outlook and my perception of Edison, but anywhere that I go and I have the opportunity to speak about Edison, speak about the students that are here, I will be sure to spread the word and let them know this is an amazing institution with amazing students attending, right? And like you can just tell, like he was just like, wow, like that's exactly what I wanted, And I spent probably another maybe 45 minutes to an hour, speaking to a couple of different kids in the classroom. And, what really changed my perception is that a lot of times when you think about inner city, when you think about, the youth, and you hear about all the violence and all those, bad things that are happening, yeah, that element is there, right? There's some kids that are just far gone, and that's what they choose. But there's another element, there's another population that is there, that they are just as dedicated, just as intelligent, capable, you name it, as any of the kids in the suburbs, right? And they want to learn, and they want to make something of themselves, and they want to be an active part, of society, and they want to fulfill the dreams like anybody else. But the problem that I see them facing is that they don't have the same access that kids in the suburbs have. They don't have the same opportunities. They don't have the same resources, right? It's all you got to do is look around and see what is available to them, and it is not a lot, right? So if they did have access to those same resources and opportunities, right, then what happens when you level the playing field? Well, amazing things happen, because that's what we've been doing, at the Irie Foundation, is making sure they have the kind of opportunities that they need. They can make the decisions that they should be making in terms of what they want for their future, right? Real quick, so I want to get a little specific. There's 3 areas that we focus on, and this is all these 3 areas of things that I've taken away, not just from Edison, but after that I visited a slew of other schools in the inner cities and spoken to a slew of other kids that are deemed to be quote unquote at risk, right? And the 3 takeaways that I got was after school, because for a lot of these kids, when they're in school in their regular hours, everything is great. They're working hard, and within those 4 walls, it's all good. they're with the teachers and they're working, but when that bell rings, they go from learning mode to survival mode, because the home that you're going to is a broken home many times. So it's just a single parent, and even if that single parent is a positive influence, they're the sole breadwinner, so they're working 2 and 3 jobs. They're not home until 8, 9 o'clock at night, and the child's been home for hours already, right? And there's an older sibling, and that older sibling sometimes is the bad influence. They're the ones getting in all the trouble, right? They're in and out of jail. They're the ones, on the streets, and they're in drugs, and they're doing all kinds of, negative things, and they're exposed to that, right? So instead of being able to go and just do their homework and, kind of chill and all that, they don't get to do that, They're battling all of these different negative things and have to fend for themselves. So what we did is we expanded on that school programs, not just quote unquote, a room with 4 walls that they can, be safe and hang out for a while, but a true program where they're actually able to get something out of it. So, for instance, for kids that have an interest in nursing, or something that's more of a vocation, maybe they want to get into auto and repair cars or whatever it is. Well, we find out those interests, and we bring resources and people that are knowledgeable, in those areas to come in and spend time with the kids, right? Come in and spend time and share with them their experiences in that particular lane and things they need to do to prepare themselves to be successful in that particular lane, right? So they're getting a certain type of enrichment that's not getting in the classroom. And of course, it's a safe haven and they're not out in the streets, We have that. That's one of the programs. Another program that we have is called the Cultural Passport. At same school that I'll tell you about, Edison, one of the kids asked me where I live, and I told him I live in Miami Beach. Miami Beach, in comparison to where Edison High School is, about a 12-minute drive. It's just over the bridge, right? And he continued to ask me, about living in Miami Beach and if I've ever been to the beach, like in the sand and in the water. I'm like, yeah, a couple times. So, really busy. I get to go there. I go there a lot. But he's like, what's it like, though? Like, yeah, you never been to the beach, man? He had never been to the beach, right? He had never put his feet in the sand and been in the ocean.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like, in a blue meal way. So, if you haven't been to the beach, guess what? If you've never been to a basketball game, a Heat game or a Dolphins game, or you've never been to a play of any kind of cultural significance,
Yeah.
At the Arts Center, things that other kids in other areas do as commonplace, right?
Right.
They don't get to do them. But what happens is, even if they get through high school and they get good grades, and let's say they do get a scholarship and they go to FSU or whatever. So let's say they're at FSU, right? And they get there and they have their new roommate and new friends that they make. Guess what? They're talking about, the trips they took that summer, right? And how they go to games, with their parents and all these different things. And then guess what? They feel socially inferior because they can't relate to any of that because they've never done it, right? And that is a complex that can affect them way more serious than you think, So it's very, very important that we, give these same kids kind of experiences that other kids are having, so they really, really feel, socially on par, and they feel like they belong. So we have a cultural passport program, which does just that. So we go to different schools and we have different kids in the program year in and year out, and we do everything from, a trip to the beach and games and all that locally, all the way to having them go on trips to our nation's capital, to South America or to Europe or whatever it is, And the last thing is we have a scholarship program, but it's not a traditional scholarship program. What I found out is that there are some very, very talented kids that are either not able to get that opportunity to go to college, or if they do get to go, they end up having to leave after the first or second year just because they can't afford it.
Okay.
Right? But here's the thing about it, right? If you get great grades, right, and you want to be a doctor or whatever it is, there's plenty of scholarships out there that you can earn and get that full ride and be taken care of, right? But there are another group of kids, right, that are just as dedicated. But guess what? Their circumstances are way different. And these scholarships, the criteria, they don't look into those circumstances. For instance, there's what opened my eyes to this is there was a young lady that I met. She was about to graduate, and she worked 2 jobs going through high school, right? She had to take care of her grandmother, right? She had to take care of her little brother because the father was out of the picture, right?
Yep.
And the mother was incapacitated and really just didn't do much, right? She basically ran the household. Right? And still worked her butt off in school, right? So she didn't have the best grades, but she still did very, very well. I mean, if I was in her shoes, I probably would have dropped out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I probably would have dropped out. I wouldn't be able to handle all that, you know? So you look at someone like that, they're really, no one's there to hear that side of it, right? So what we do, we look at the entire situation, right? And not only do we take their full situation into consideration, but we also go a step further and get into what their motives are down the line, right? Meaning, you know, for us to step in and give you this particular, you know, help and assistance, you know, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you in terms of the future when, you know, you do get through school and you get a great job and, you know, you're successful and all that? What does that mean to you, you know? And for a lot of them, that means it's time to go back to those neighborhoods, right, and go back to people that are for kids that are in their situation as well, and do what they can to help and tell their story and share their story about how they got to it, right, and how they're able to be successful. Those are the folks that we invest in, right? And that's our scholarship program is set up for students like that are kind of right outside that threshold and kind of forgotten about because their entire situation is not being considered. So those are the 3 areas that we focus on. And we've been making great strides and great inroads, you know, in all 3 areas. I'm super proud of that. Something I'm really dedicated to.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the most organized 3-pronged program I've ever heard in my life, and I hope you take that to Obama.
Well, you know what? I think we will. There's you know, with the My Brother's Keeper initiative, I've actually been to the White House a couple times. I mean, not speaking with the president directly, but I've actually become really good friends with a gentleman named Maurice Owens, and he works for the chief of staff. And we've actually been, you know, talking about, you know, programs and helping to champion, you know, bringing them to that level, you know, because I think there's no question about it that with what we're doing, you know, in Miami, not only is it skippable, but these are the same issues that are facing inner city kids in Chicago, you know, inner city kids, you know, in New York and in Cleveland, you know, everywhere, you know, these same issues, you know, are happening. So, by working together, we can definitely tackle them and help curb the trajectory, you know.
Absolutely. I got a question for you about Big Brother, but I want to give you just a quick background on myself. So I've been a Big Brother program since 2003, and I really didn't know. Yeah, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. I first met my little brother Danny when he was 12, and he didn't say a word to me in the beginning. And then after a while, every couple of weeks we would meet for 11 years. We grew closer, and then in 2010, I'm honored as one of the Big of the Year finalists. And, Hill Harper was the keynote speaker, and I noticed that you were a keynote speaker at one of those events for the greater Florida.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And then, if you flash forward 12 years, this Danny, he gets into a fabulous internship program called Year Up program, which helps disadvantaged kids get jobs and training for IT and business and get some internships. And now Danny works full-time at a Fortune 500 company. But best
Are
of
you
all,
kidding me, man? That's
yeah,
awesome, dude.
yeah,
That's so awesome.
but best of all, we're like tight as the real brothers, and we run half marathons together. We just did one last week. I mean, it's been an amazing journey. So my question to you is, what drew you to Big Brother, Big Sister?
So before that, I just want to give you kudos again, because you literally changed Danny's life. You know, that time you spent really, really changed his life, you know? So to me personally, I mean, we have a very, very, very close relationship with Big Brothers Big Sisters. Actually, they've been one of the chief beneficiaries of the Irie Foundation for many, many years as well. Right? So we've raised tons of money for them. We've done events with them. I mean, it goes on, you know? But what really captivated me about Big Brothers Big Sisters is that it's a simple ideal, right? And that is, so many people, you know, and this is great because, you know, resources are important. You know, dollars are very, very important. But there's so many people that, you know, will cut a check, right? Or donate, you know, something. And that's great. And that goes a long way. But there's nothing more important. There's nothing that changes someone's life more than actually spending time. Right? There's nothing more important than that, you know? And especially for, you know, with the kids that are, you know, that age, they're in scenarios where there is no family member that is either around or is willing to spend that kind of time, you know, with the youngster, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, they may get, you know, a shiny backpack, you know, from a donation, and they may get, you know, a shopping spree, you know, for some new clothes, you know, whatever. All that stuff is cool when they put a smile on their face. But nothing changes a life like spending time and making sure those kids know that, hey, if nobody else cares, I care. So when you make those decisions in life, when you feel like there's absolutely no reason to make the right decision, you're going to think about me, and you're going to make the right decision for me because I'm invested in you. You know, so I mean that's what really, you know, captivated me. You know, more than anything with Big Brothers Big Sisters, that they literally change lives because they're invested, you know, in the in these kids, you know, doing the right thing.
That's awesome. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about giving back from our perspectives, but I wanted to give an opportunity for one of our little brothers to get a word in. So I actually have my little brother Danielson on the phone with one question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now the only thing is, I'm not technologically savvy enough, so he's probably just going to talk into the mic. You can't hear you, but if you have a message for him, I'll let him know.
Cool, no problem.
All right, hold on.
Cool.
Danny, you there? Danny? All right, hold on.
Okay, man.
Hey, Irie. Nice to meet you.
Wait, talk louder, Danny.
Yeah, I can hardly hear.
Yeah, hold on.
Hey, Irie. I'm Danny. I'm Alexis' little brother. I'm 23 and I work at American Tower as an IT analyst. And like you, I feel blessed that I've been able to overcome obstacles and achieve early success in my career. Any tips on how to keep that momentum going and continue to battering myself both?
So what he was saying is bettering himself both in his career and his life, like kind of continue the momentum.
So you know what? You got to stay hungry. I'll tell you what I do personally, right? I call myself, I'm a student for life, right? I am a student for life. In my particular career, even though like, you know, I've reached, you know, some success and traveled the world and all that, but to break it down, you know, in the basics, as a DJ, I still make sure and I go and check out, you know, other DJs or other venues. And, you know, when I listen to the radio, I listen a lot differently than other people, you know, listen. because I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly trying to get ahead of the curve and seeing, what's next and how to innovate and how to bring something, new to the craft, And the other thing is you can never, ever, ever be satisfied. So not that you're not grateful for where you are, not that you're not grateful for your success or your rewards, but if you stay hungry and you want more, you're going to figure out a way to get to that next level, right? You're going to challenge your mind to be creative. You're going to challenge your mind to come up with that next idea, that next, big step. And more than anything, you put that energy out there. You put that energy out there. If you are, complacent and you are satisfied with, where you are and what you're doing, then you're doing the wrong thing. Because it's not engaging, It's not engaging enough, If you're doing something that you're passionate about, you're always going to want to get to that next level, and you're always going to want to, see what else, is out there. But that's really it. You really, really have to stay hungry. And if you're not compelled to stay hungry in what you're doing, it's time for a new experience. It's time for a new challenge. That's probably the biggest thing. If you don't feel challenged in what you're doing, then you're not doing the right thing. You have to constantly feel like you're challenged. You have to constantly challenge yourself and push yourself. And if that's happening, you'll probably, realize opportunities and a level of success that you probably would never even dream of.
That's awesome. That's a really good message to the youth right there. Stay hungry.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. Well, I want to wrap it up with that question, man, because I just think that's a good.
But yeah, that's spot on.
Good end point. But I just wanted to thank you for using your celebrity to give back and empower those who may have less advantages than the rest of us. And I think you set the bar high. I acknowledge you for your inspirational leadership. So I really appreciate you coming on Prepped and Polished podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alexis. It's been my pleasure. It's been my pleasure, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing, because there's not enough outlets, letting people know, about what's possible for them. So you're doing a great thing as well.
Yeah, definitely, and we're like on the same team here. So I'm just taking what you're doing, and I'm gonna spread some love too. Thank you.
Let's do it. I'm with you, bro. You got it, man.
And this wraps up our show today with DJ Irie. To learn more about the amazing work DJ Irie does for youth, please check out his website, www.iriefoundation.org. Thank you for joining us on the Prepped and Polished podcast. Now go out there and take control of your education.
You've been listening to the Prepped and Polished podcast. For more information, check out preppedandpolished.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening. Class dismissed.